$26 drivers, $25,000. This is the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship.
It's just a magical place, isn't it? Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Road America. A track which, by all intents and purposes, is built on one philosophy, and that philosophy is speed. Every corner, every straight, every chance of this 6.44 kilometer, 14-turn challenge is all about how you manage it here today. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the conversation. I'm Jake Sperry, Peter Mackay, and Kenneth Bueno along for the ride today. Kenneth, we talk about this track being very draft dependent. Everyone here today knows they've got to be within 1.2 and their opportunity arises. The moment that rubber band breaks, their race completely disintegrates.
Well, Jake, they don't call World America the National Park of Speed for no reason. This track is really fast. This track has a lot of long straights, but can really catch you off guard at any moment in time. Off tracks is going to be pretty much a no-no with these Dallara IR01s. And with the championship at its tightest that we've pretty much ever seen, it's going to make for a fantastic show when these drivers get around this 4-mile course.
3 drivers, 8 points, and 4 rounds to go, including tonight's action. You know, we look at this track, we say it's quick, we say it's challenging, and it's going to be fearsome in these IRO1s. You know, Peter, you've had this chance to take a look around this circuit and really understand what it means to be around Elkhart Lake.
Yeah, this is a historic circuit in the United States. I mean, this circuit has actually kept its original layout since 1955 after they moved from the streets of Elkhart Lake itself to this Road America circuit, which is cut out of the natural topography of the glacial Kettle Moraine area. So it really follows the uphill and downhill nature of this Wisconsin landscape. And as you mentioned, it is fast. Huge opportunity for overtaking maneuvers at lots of parts of the circuit. But as you mentioned, staying in the draft and using that to your advantage is going to be the best possible way to do that. However, when we come down to those final laps, expect a proper firework display because we always get them on the run to the line at Elkhart Lake.
Watch out as well today for the left-hand side tyres. That killer carousel, turns 9 and 10 out on circuit, right up at the very top. The kink you can see as well at turn 11. Those are going to be some very difficult corners to keep tyre life in play. We may just see the hard tyre for the majority of drivers here today throughout the race. That may be the way it goes forward. But from a wonderful track, we can certainly say that qualifying was a huge case of I'm quicker, no, I'm quicker, no, I'm quicker, as we take a look here at ourselves getting ready for action here from where we are. Let's talk points though first and foremost. We were talking about how close it was going to be, and well, as close as it is right now, it's got itself really tight on margin. 130 to 128, 120 back there is Johan Haaf in 3rd position. Ben Fuller finds himself in 4th, and Michele Costantini 5th overall as the championship looks. So there is a lot of work going into play in terms of picking up the right points, picking up the right result, and how you go and try and open out the margins that are very much there. This is going to be all about being alert off of the get-go, and it's that alertness that we will see. Why not run through the starting grid? This is how they're going to start off, and what a packed front row it is. The two who came together turn 1 last week are on the front row. You've got the likes of Ugolotti and Constantini there, as everyone is getting themselves pretty close to grid. We are going to get ourselves into position. Fuller, Berryman, Lemonek, Van Lozenoord, Hath, Mandenark, your top 6 as they start off. Let us get ourselves into position. Welcome, race fans. Road America. 37 laps worth of racing action today, and lights, of course, are going to be on. And in the next few moments, the green flag drops and we are underway. It's one of the tightest front straights that we're going to have all season as they run forward. Fuller gets a really good start. Van Lozenoord immediately under pressure from Johan Hath in the fight as they go through. Lemonek trying to make it run down to the inside to turn 1. Mid-pack looking like it's pretty sorted as they go through. A couple of go screaming off through the right hand into the gravel. I'm not sure who those were who went off the road. It looks like it was Omar Bahar who's gone off. So a frantic start, but frantically fantastic here for Ben Fuller. He has got himself clear right now, Kenneth.
He definitely does, and to confirm, there were 2 cars that went off in turn 1. It was Michele Constantini, who went immediately to pit road after that scuffle, and Omar Baja, who's pretty much all the way back in the field, P21, a bunch of seconds behind Jorge Martinez in the number 32 machine. But so far, for the front runners, it's all single file, and that's what you want to do here at a narrow track like Road America with these wide cars. Keep it clean for the first handful of laps. Get yourself in a rhythm.
Absolutely. 22 drivers here today. No drivers from the racecraft team. All 3 of them absent then from this race. But as they make their way through the very treacherous kink, the right-hander and on towards the kettle bottoms, they come up towards Canada Corner as their next opportunity. Fuller leads, Lemonek in 2nd, Berryman 3rd, Hath in 4th, and Van Lozenoord back there. You can see him on screen right now in 5th position. So right now, he's got a lot of work to do. But as we said, Peter, this is a draft circuit. You've got to stay in range, give yourself the opportunities, and then go out there, attack it as if you've got yourself an opportunity to go through. Lemonek holds a crucial role today in this race.
That he does, and Lemonek really needs to get onto the case of Ben Fuller because he is really up for it this evening. He's going so quick in qualifying, put it on pole, and is already starting to try and break away here as well. As we're getting a replay of Michele Constantini in the grey and black car with, the yellow numbers. Just gets checked up, guys. Oh.
I think he checked himself up and outbroke himself. So issues there. As Hath looking like he's having to defend. They attack behind as well. As down the inside, searching there goes Matteo Ugolotti's TQ Engineering car on Valentin Mandenark there. Had a really good qualifying, of course, in the number 46, the R8G esports machine. So he's certainly done well off of the get-go. But this middle sector, this is about as much of a transfer sector as you can possibly find here over the course of this lap, Kenneth. What are we expecting today in terms of these drivers and what they are looking to try and do?
Well, in the case of drivers, Jake, they're going to be looking for precision. Again, I mentioned just how narrow this track is. There's not a lot of runoff area either here at Road America. Got a lot of grass, you've got a lot of barriers, but not a lot of asphalt out of any of these corners. So drivers are looking to stay as precise as possible. They talked about how placement was going to be the most key factor in putting yourself in a chance to win, and also fuel strategy. It's a 37-lap race, looking at about 13 to 14 laps on a full stint of fuel. So with this long track, it's going to make for a lot of challenges for these guys to pull out the playbook in the mind and get the strategies working out.
Here comes Martin Van Lozenoord again. He tried to have a look into Canada Corner. It did not happen, and it won't again as Przemysław Lemonek sets the fastest lap of the race. That's 1 championship point. You can hold on to it at the end of the race. So Lemonek with control of that at the moment. Top 3, 8/10 of a second. It's 9/10 back here to Johan Hath. He's having to defend so hard. You know, one more attack maybe, and that's that. Power move, almost in the grass. It's in the grass, trying to get it by. And Van Lozenoord had to make that move. That was a must-make pass, Peter.
Yeah, superb stuff there from Martin Van Lozenoord to get that job done. And Johan Hath made it as difficult as he possibly could, but Van Lozenoord got by. But now he's really got to push on and try and bridge this gap because it is 1 second up towards Peter Berryman. And as we know, the draft gives up at between 1 and 1.1 seconds. Underneath that, you can pretty much shuckle yourself back into the car in front. But once you go over that barrier, you're in trouble and the top group could break away. So Van Lozenoord, he's got some hot laps ahead of him.
Certainly does, and the train stretches all the way back to 11th position right now, and Tamas Simon who is their P6 in the championship, doing a really, really good job, is number 9 at just scoring those consistent finishes over the season after a disaster in race 1 of the season at Watkins Glen. But as they crest the rise, the key is going to be who's on different strategies as well. There is Cedric Beale's Delta Sport car there, the driver from Paris in France. He's on the yellow wall mediums, as is the driver in front of him, Alejandro Del Campo. Van Loosenhoorn sets the fast lap of the race. And Kenneth, those two going through and looking to make those challenges. As you can see, Cedric Beale driving in VR, virtual reality at this point in time. He's on a different strategy today. We're expecting those yellow wall mediums to last, how long exactly?
Well, they're probably going to last at least over, I believe, 8 laps is probably going to be the maximum that you're going to get out of these yellow walled mediums. And out of the two here, there is an extra driver that was on the medium set of tires in qualifying. It was Alejandro Del Campo in the 21 machine, along with Cedric Beale. And then, of course, there was a third driver in Marcos Nunez over in P9. So those three looking for maybe an aggressive approach as we would start this race, because normally I'd said 13 to 14 would be the mark for fuel, but you maybe have to save a little bit, and you could use maybe some of the grip on the medium tires in the early stint to maybe get something out of it. But for them right now, doesn't seem to be the approach that they're probably hoping for in the first 4 laps of this race. We'll just see how they fare. When they come down pit road, it'll maybe be an undercut.
Absolutely, and this is going to be a really interesting point of strategy, not for Marcos Nunez in 9th position right now, really, Peter, as we focus here on the Apex Racing car of Johan Harth, driving himself then through the final corner and onto the front stretch once again. But the drive's in 10th and 11th, because once they reach about lap 8, lap 9, they're going to have to try and make a move here out on circuit to avoid losing the train entirely to the group in front.
Yeah, lap 8, lap 9, if you are one of those few drivers on the medium tyre, then yes, you can then come into the pits and then do 2 longer stints on hard tyres. I would expect that the leaders, they will be hard tyres all the way through. But yes, you need to make the most of the tyre when you have it, because the differences in lap time can be quite extraordinary as well. But note for Johan Harth in 5th place, 1.1 seconds back from the car, from the leader, sorry. But what a drive he had last week to get from the back of the pack after a qualifying ban to the podium, and that was critical to his championship aspirations. And now that he's started up in the pack, don't be surprised to see the Frenchman in victory lane later on.
We were focusing on Andreas Henkel, but Martin van Loosenhoorn is now up into 3rd position. He had to get by Peter Berryman, and once again, there were 2 tyres on the grass as he tried to do so. So some wonderful moves being constructed at this point in time. It is still Ben Fuller who leads. There's your top 3, and it's the 2 Predator cars that are chasing down, and there, having to defend in 5th position now, is Peter Berryman. He has lost position then to Johan Harth. Not much that you can really argue about it. He actually lost position as well to, I believe, Valentin Mandenark as well. And all of that was coming out then of the turn 7 corner into the hurry downs. Here comes Ugolotti now. He's trying to get through on Mandenark towards turn number 1. As the front 3, well, they remain single file, at least for the moment here, Kenneth, through 1.
And they're running away so far. But to talk about Peter Berryman, lost that position to Mandenark on the outside, and then got it back via the draft. So a nice job for Berryman to kind of slow the bleeding a little bit after those passes were made complete. But one thing to talk about here, Jake, with these long straightaways, you said at the top of the show, drafting is going to be pertinent as a driver. Johan Harth goes to the outside of Martin van Loosenhoorn for P3, but to keep draft within you is going to be crucial because the straights are so long and because this track is one of the longest that we see here in the entire season. So keeping yourself in check here and probably not wanting to lead the group is going to be the main focal point for these guys, as Martin van Loosenhoorn able to defend against Harth for 3rd so far.
Just have that feeling they're going to battle all day long, so long as they don't make contact at this point in time. It is very, very telling. As you can see, Ben Fuller, your race leader. There's Przemysław Lemonek in 2nd. Now, Ben Fuller is a really curious case who's behind, as there is weaving behind, and Harth they could just see in light, trying to get to the inside in the fight for 3rd behind. Van Loosenhoorn has to yield it, so Johan Harth puts himself back up into third position with that move, a good move. But really, Peter, we've been talking about how Ben Fuller's that curious case. Dropped back at Monza, had the issue, of course, at Hockenheim. Team orders coming into play at Silverstone. He's given up about 18 points here for the good of the team. Would he be in the title contention picture a lot more closer if there weren't those orders there at the Apex quote-unquote as well, SDK Gaming?
Well, I think it's hard to say. It's if, buts and maybes, and there's no such thing in motor racing. I think, Ben just had a couple of unfortunate things happen, a lot of which, as you rightly say, not by his own doing. But I do think he's just struggled. He's had a couple of incidents, of course, which you could argue he was, at fault for. So, yeah, he's answering his own criticisms. I'm sure he's his own best critic, really. And he's showing today by putting the car on pole position by a margin we're not used to seeing, really healthy margin, and leading confidently at the front, and really making, to watch the pace of the drivers behind him, he's really making them work for this. This is not a slow pace. Fuller's really acting as the kind of hare out front in this scenario as well. And what is fascinating to watch, the way the drivers are conducting themselves in this front group. If someone goes for a move, they're not defending anywhere near as much, because if you do defend too hard, yes, you might keep the track position, but you lose the scent of the leader.
Certainly will. And as we focus here with Johan Hart, get a good look there. He was the consummate face of concentration as he was running himself through the very, very difficult back half of the circuit. Up the hill then and onto the 8th lap. And here comes a pass for the race lead. Przemysław Lemonek lifting out of it, and Johan Hart is not. So he goes straight through on Martin van Loosnord into turn number 1. And they are starting here, Kenneth, to play that game of chicken. Nobody wants the race lead. Lemonek is lifting out deliberately at this point in time because he wants to run Ben Fuller out of fuel earlier for that first round of stops.
Indeed it is. It's a game of pure simplicity. Just stay out front. You waste the most fuel. I don't want to take that position away because I don't want to harm myself on a potential fuel strategy, especially if I can keep myself in line and save some fuel, maybe make it to lap 14 or maybe extend it further on a lap of fuel. As you watch on board with Fuller, he's got the distance, but the thing is, how does he play it? Does he try to let drivers by? And what exactly happens there? Will Lemonek try to pull out? Will other drivers try to come into the picture? There's just so many things to factor in that Fuller just has no choice but to stay up at the front and just continue leading, although I figure he probably doesn't want to.
Well, the phrase that's used in cycling is that you're putting nails in your legs, and very much it feels like that's what's happening here for Ben Fuller. He's putting nails in his fuel tank because he is just completely dropping off that pace. You may have saw in the back of that shot there an overtake for what was 5th position as Peter Berryman lost out to Valentin Mandenark. So Mandenark up now into 5th place. There is Mandenark on screen right now, and he is so good for so young at this point in time. It's just in front. Lemonek there is having a look then as that is Johan Hart trying to get through just in front. So here's Johan Hart to the inside. He's going to take the position away and move up into 2nd place. But don't count out Lemonek coming straight back, coming out of 3, Peter, and over through the marine sweep of 4 into turn 5.
I'm quite curious with what Peter Berryman is up to in the 50 car, which Kenneth might be able to give us a bit more info on. Peter Berryman, I think, is wanting to go 1 lap longer than everyone else. He looks very cozy where he is right now.
Why don't we take a look at our Force Dynamics race analysis from Road America, guys. It's a 37-lap race, about 241 kilometers. That's going to matter when you count in the fuel window. Take a look at that, 13 to 14 laps. It's only about a 1 to 2 lap spread, so it's not as wide of a window as we would probably expect from a lot of other tracks on the season. But there it is all the way at the bottom. Medium tire, optimal window. It's going to be about 8 laps. That's as far as you're probably going to want to get on those yellow sidewalls. So if we see drivers try to push on the yellow sidewalls for later in this race, possibly the last stint, that's as far as they can go before it starts to fall off. But it's going to be a big game of chess, guys, when we get to the latter portions of this race. And we're already coming up on the first stint of pit stops rather from the leaders. So we should expect that coming up very soon, maybe within the next 5.
Absolutely, and those pit stops will be crucial because of how getting yourself to the mediums might play into a factor. Kenneth, I'll come back to you on it. So you're looking at the maths there. It's going to be 13 to 14 on fuel. If you fuel 14 each way, you're going to have 1 lap where that tyre for the yellow walled medium is not going to be optimal.
It's not, but there are drivers who are going to be willing to take that risk. If it's only going to be one lap, sure, it's not that big of a difference, but if it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 laps or even more, then that's probably where the concern is going to lie. So I don't think that one lap is going to be a big problem for these guys. They'll probably take the risk, but I figure that a lot of these people here up at the front of the field, especially the bigger teams, they're going to be looking at hards all the way through because they don't want to take that risk. It's all about who's going to be willing to take that risk. And here's a driver right now, Jake, that probably would. Matteo Ugolotti. He's taken risks like this before, so we could see him do it.
The big scream for risk-taking from Ugolotti so far this season was Interlagos. He got himself to the race lead, but it did not quite pan out the way he wanted to. Both himself and David Toth are going to be really interesting because they're just sat here at this point in time, Peter, on the back of this group, saving the fuel, trying to go as long as they can. They're giving themselves window, even though they're 7th and 8th place. They're only 2 seconds off the race lead by being in the train. So they've got a really good opportunity as we take ever so briefly a driver's eyes perspective. We look back forward to 1st, 2nd and 3rd.
Well, we might see a surprise result tonight, possibly out with of the existing group of winners that we've had, because back when the IMSA WeatherTech Championship came here a couple of months ago to Road America, the WeatherTech Porsche team beat the factory Corvettes by saving a pit stop. Now, we're not going to save an entire pit stop tonight, but the Road America circuit, by its nature, you really can save large chunks of fuel if you go for that kind of strategy as well. And Matt Campbell, Porsche factory driver, really pulled that off very well. And I just get the feeling that Peter Berryman in 6th right now, we know he has more pace than that position says, and I think he's got something up his sleeve.
We just also note that the first taker has come into the pits from that main group. It was, as expected, Marcos Nunez moving on to a set of the hard compound tyres. He started the race on the medium, and now he's going to do well. And he's done really well, really, in terms of that stint, Kenneth. He went 10 laps, 10 full laps around the circuit.
Definitely did, and we've seen Marcos Nunez take different sets of tires, different kind of compounds of tires, and make it work. You remember back to Silverstone where he qualified on the soft tires, was able to keep himself in contention with the hard compound guys up at the front of the field for the first stint, then obviously started to fall off. But Nunez is trying to make this sort of alternate strategy work. The only problem is he's back in P20 and he doesn't know when everybody else is going to come down pit road, and it's going to take a while. So for Nunez, he has to really keep this in mind as we look at 2 different battles on the track. But for Nunez, just outside of the battle for 18th, with 2 other drivers that are also on medium tires, he's going to have to keep a watch on them and what they do as well.
Matteo Ugolotti sets the fastest lap of the race on that lap as we focus on Jorge Martinez versus Cedric Beal, only just for a moment as they run through turn number 3 and really have to attack. And this is a track, really, Peter, where you have to be absolutely precise for 37 laps. This isn't an FIA Grade 1 circuit. You can see there's all that grass on the outside. You touch it in these machines, that's it, it's race done.
Yes, indeed. Of course, the IndyCar Championship still come here, and Champ Car back in the day did as well, when they were really mean, nasty cars as well. And just ask poor old Catherine Legg back in 2006 when she crashed at the Kink. It's one of the fastest corner, if not the fastest corner on the circuit, and the wall is immediately there to meet you. So yes, you're right, a mistake will be severely punished. We've seen at other circuits like Silverstone, for example, you could make a mistake, go off track, and and basically not even hit any grass, let alone gravel. But here that luxury does not exist.
And we are right on towards that window now of the first pit stop, slightly wide. You can see in the gravel goes Johan Haaf. That brings Przemysław Lemonek, the Polish driver, closer into range if you might want to start thinking about attacking. Nobody taking that quick dip over to the right, and it is such a tricky pit lane as well. We've talked absolutely nothing of it, as all interesting for the race lead. Johan Haas going to take a stint at the front. Clearly they've got ideas of, well, we need to save a little bit here and get as much of a gap as we possibly can. So Ben Fuller relinquishes by choice the race lead to Johan Haas, and once again we see it, that SDK Apex dynamic coming into play, Kenneth.
And they were taking steps right there as we were watching it, because you saw Ben Fuller hold on to the lead, but Hart was trying to get around Lemonek every lap and every lap. So you got to imagine that that was part of the plan. As a side-by-side almost making contact. Lemonnick and Fuller do coming up to the Corvette bridge and coming up to the hurry downs, but that probably is the plan there, to have Hearth come up in front, let Fuller save some fuel, and be adequate enough to get himself within that lap 14 window to start this race. So Fuller going to tuck behind Lemonnick for now in P3. Meanwhile, a couple other drivers have pit road as well, Jake.
Yeah, Peter Zuber was definitely one of them. Alejandro Del Campo also into the pits then, along with Cedric Beale, as they charge through the leading group, through the kink, through the kettle bottoms to Canada corner. Van Lozenor trying to eye up a move there. You can see in 4th position, but he's going to think better of it then as they go through. They can see it's very much a Predator sandwich here with SDK filling at this point in time. Now, we expect the fact that there's been so much running at the front, Ben Fuller to be one of the first to dive in, and he will. So maybe that decision to drop from the race lead, Peter, may have been a decision based on fuel and not orders.
It could have been one or the other, you're right. It could have been for fuel. I think you're more likely to be the fuel, but yes, quite possibly potentially backing the field up a little bit as well to help his teammate Johan Hearth, who of course is in close contention for the championship right now. And interestingly, the reaction from Przemysław Lemonnick in the Predator car, number 11, he basically, as soon as the lead swapped between Hearth and Fuller, Lemonnick made a move straight away, snapped straight through, knowing that he couldn't afford to be stuck behind Fuller and have the opportunity for Fuller to set the pace. That was really instinctive driving there from Lemonnick, and that again makes sure that his teammate behind him is right up there in the hunt too.
Yep, absolutely. So there's a lot of focus on where drivers need to be. Base they go. There is Przemysław Lemonnick at this point in time, chasing behind the number 90 of Johan Hearth. We talk about this as well in terms of time and transfer. You've got so much gap on this circuit, and there's such a long pit lane transit time that any time you've got to be there, you've got to go. The lift only happens now in the second half of the straight as they go in towards Canada corner. Already through it. This is how quick the lap is, and you're immediately flinging yourself at 270 kilometers an hour through Bill Mitchell Bend into the final corner. Now who decides to come in? In comes 1, 2, as predicted. Everyone comes in except the championship leader, and that championship leader is Martin van Lozenord.
I think at this point, Jake, you expect now Martin van Lozenord to extend it as far as possible. That's been the strategy the past couple of races. If you've taken notice, within the fuel window, Martin van Lozenord is always the driver to go one step ahead and go further out and go the overcut instead of going with everybody else and making that sweet spot work. So we'll see whether this distance can help Martin van Lozenord in this case. But what these drivers on pit road don't want to do, Jake, is spend so much time on pit road. I talked with some of the drivers yesterday. They had some concerns about how much time they were losing on this very long straight pit road entry and pit road exit at Road America. So you don't really want to waste any sort of time out of the pits as you watch on board with Martin van Lozenord looking for 4 in a row.
Yeah, they've just come out of the pits. Mandanark has done some genius. Now you see, this is where they've come out in terms of reality. Ben Fuller's 55 has lost out here. He's behind Lemonnick, he's behind Hearth, and he's behind Mandanark as well. Hearth versus Mandanark down in towards turn number 5, trying to find a way through. Still a bit of side-by-side, a bit of wiggling there, as you can see. Power so delicate, needing to be on the exit, but Hearth has got himself up then into 2nd position. What a stop that was from the R8G car, Peter, of number 46, Valentin Mandanark.
Yeah, amazing stuff there from the young Frenchman. He saved himself 0.7 of a second from his nearest competitor, Lemonnick, his teammate. He was actually 0.8 and 0.9 of a second quicker than the Apex and STK cars as well. So Valentin Mandanark may be up to something on fuel as well, as Martin van Lozenord comes in from the race lead, hitting a 15-lap stint. I don't think we expected a stint of that length, as meanwhile all of his rivals are bickering within each other. And well, that will give Martin van Lozenord a huge opportunity to come out in the lead.
They were too wide, too deep into Canada corner, and it is such a committed section of track. They will make their way onto the straight. Watch, off of the jacks then comes Martin van Lozenord. Will he get going? Yes, he will. How close is it going to be? It's going to be Mandanark trying to make the move here on the straight, but as they go, Martin van Lozenord is going to be ahead of everybody else. It's going to be Mandanark in 2nd. It's going to be now in 3rd position as we're on board with Martin van Lozenord right now. 3rd will now be Johan Hearth as he looks behind at the very, very aggressive pack. He's going to have to... blank his lucky stars as Johan Haas goes for a gap that I thought did not exist. And he's got the move, and look at everyone trying to go through. Fuller absolutely sending from leagues back. Look at them, they're tripping over each other. They're 3 wide in places, Kenneth. My goodness.
They were 3 wide at the entrance of turn 5. That is not a place you want to go 3 abreast in. As one car goes off, that was Lemonnick, I believe. Actually, no, that was Fuller who made the dive into turn 5. He's going to lose out the spot to Valentin Mandernack, but that was absolutely sketchy. And Johan Harth, I know he was passing below the Sargento bridge, but he was hungry for position. And Harth moves into P2 with a solid gap. Look forward with Peter Berryman here. He's watching all the action up in front. I figure he's got some popcorn behind the wheel of that Dallara IR1 as well.
I think he does, and I think that he's going to have to be very cautious about the way that he goes through. As just in front, here comes the look, Ben Fuller, wasting no time, straight through, and Valentin Mandernack gains the place once again. They've allowed Lemonnick and Harth away, but the entire group have allowed 2 seconds here to Martin van Loosenoord. It's exactly the same story right now, Peter, as it was at Hockenheim. Van Loosenoord had a bit of bickering from behind, built himself the gap and ran away with the race. They can't afford to make that happen, but as you know, car number 19 is going to get no help from car number 11. And 11's just going to sit there and wait. His job is to watch Martin run away.
Yeah, I think you might see, whether it be by design or by circumstance there, the R8G and Predator colleagues of Martin van Loosenoord did a super job of keeping the Apex and SDK cars at bay, who are, of course, his main championship rivals. However, I don't think we will see I don't think we will see Lemonnick step behind. I think we'll see him make Johan's life as difficult as possible here in second position. But the thing with Johan Harth is so fast, and he'll know exactly what the score is. He'll know that he's got to lay down qualifying laps here. Meanwhile, Van Loosenoord, what a absolute masterstroke of strategy there as well. Believe it or not, guys, he spent the longest in the pit box at 9 seconds flat.
Well, he really had to work hard for that stint. He really gave himself a lot of room to work with, and the overcut played out a treat at this point in time. The group is second all the way back to 8th position, and David Toth, who is there at this point in time in the number 8, and will be very much, again, keen to keep himself afloat at this point in time. The group has got itself back into play again. Now here's Lemonnick's catch-22 right now, really, as we see them going through the final corner onto the front stretch. Ben Fuller wants to get forward, and he wants to help Johan Harth out. So the key for Lemonnick, he might actually have to overtake to stop Ben Fuller, who you can see tyre to tyre. Oh, I am surer than sure that they traded rubber as they went through turn number 1. I'm pretty sure you can't read what's on the sidewalls now.
Probably can't at all, and there's no text on it, but there's probably no graphics on it either. Nonetheless, they are really aggressive for these positions, and just like Peter said, it's probably going to be Lemonnick's job here to make Harth's life as hard as possible, make him work for it, lose more time to Van Loosenoord, and help his teammate out as Lemonnick gets turned in the entrance of turn 5.
Just like that, we were thinking about this race getting a little bit close, a little bit dicey, and strategy having to come into play. And Ben Fuller on the brakes into the back of Przemysław Lemonnick, and Lemonnick's race pretty much all done from this point onwards. He's still going. He's behind Tamas Shimon, was able to recover quickly, but the ideal in that situation was not brilliant. And Peter, you would have to say that the stewards are going to have a look at that after the race.
Yes, I think they will have a look at that and see what the circumstances of the incident were, and they'll look at all the data. They will have the data. But yes, that's, obviously it's not the first incident that we've seen Ben Fuller being involved with. Now, we talked about the reasons behind that in the past, but yes, I think they will look at it closely. And to be honest, it's a great pity because there was a really good dice going on there.
Absolutely. Let's catch a replay then. See exactly how this one came about. You can see Lemonnick does not want to make that pass here on Johan Harth, who's in the middle of the road. He hits the brakes, and ultimately, I just think he didn't leave himself enough braking room at that point in time, did Ben Fuller. He had road to the left, road to the right, decided to follow directly in the wheel tracks, and then, boom, there's the incident there, Kenneth.
Yeah, Ben Fuller a couple laps ago, obviously we saw the huge dive bomb that he made at the entrance of that same corner, turn 5, using that inside lane like if he was defending, but instead he was just trying to make the offense work. Unfortunately, though, Lemonnick was just trying to block. They both get together, different braking zones. Fuller tried to over-maximize it, Lemonnick tried to just keep it conservative, and there was a contact there, and Lemonnick went around. I can tell you that Lemonnick was not happy over the team radio after what happened with Ben Fuller exactly on that incident into turn 5. So we should expect Lemonnick to try and rebound, but it's going to be really tough for him.
This is Valentin Mandanark's perspective, and you'll see your car in front. He has to immediately bail out ever so slightly. I'll tell you what, the fact he didn't lose any time compared to the car in front of Ben Fuller says all you need to know about how much Mandanark had to be alert to that. And another thing about that, it's the final thing we'll say about the incident with 19 laps to go here at Road America, is that that car could have gone anywhere from that incident, and fortunately enough, did not come back, Peter, back into oncoming traffic.
Yes, that was the only fortunate thing about it. Quite right, indeed. And what is really impressive here is that, I'm sure, that I can guarantee you that will not have been intentional before anyone thinks that that's the case. That will be, that's just a byproduct of very close racing. It can happen from time to time. These guys are the very best in the world at what they do. But you look at Ben Fuller, he's not let that incident get him down. Look at the pace he is turning in now, a 1:31.3. He's the fastest man on the racetrack that last lap by. So that is the way you respond from something like that. Don't let it take your focus, dig in, and he's 3/10 quicker than Van Loozenor. This isn't done yet.
Not done yet, but the gap is large. It's 3.7 seconds at this point in time. It cost him about 3 seconds to get back through the pack and to get himself ahead of Johan Hart. So that early stop, we know Fuller's going to probably have to stop early again when it comes to that final stop of the race. That might be something we see. And it's also another thing to note that those drivers who have been keeping quiet might decide that late on they want to maybe come and save some more fuel and get themselves as far as they can and try what Martin Van Loozenor did. I'm sure that's in the mind right now, Kenneth, of David Toth and Matteo Ugolotti, because they have been effectively persona non gratas in this race. They've been on the back of this group, effectively just hiding away, waiting for their time in the sunshine to come.
I mean, they've got the example of Martin Van Loozenor. They literally saw it happen on track. Either they saw it right in front of their windshield, or right in front of their cockpit, or if it was going to be like that, Jake, leaders come by.
Yeah, absolutely. So the focus is very much there as they crest the rise up the hill and make their way over towards turn number 1 once again. Van Loozenor, your leader. The gap 3.4 seconds at this point in time, up to 3.7 now to Ben Fuller in second. It is Johan Hart in third. Valentin Mandanark is fourth. Peter Berryman in fifth position has had a quiet race so far in this one. Remember, he is only a singular point behind Johan Hart at this point in the championship. So he knows what he's got to do, and they're starting to have some searches there. That was Matteo Ugolotti having a little think of a look to try and go through. Kenneth, that was a really good chance, and ultimately Ugolotti's just sitting there and is waiting.
He definitely is waiting, so we'll just have to keep an eye out on what drivers end up on the right strategy and which drivers end up on the wrong strategy, quite possibly. And we'll bring in a driver or somebody who's got some experience with one of the largest teams in this series in Apex Racing. We've got George Simmons from the pit wall. George, I want to give you a couple questions here just because you've got sort of that third eye on what these guys are doing on strategy. How difficult has it been at a track like Road America to get strategies in and to make sure that these drivers can make it all the way?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty tough race at the moment. It's very difficult, especially with the qualifying rules, to work out what the right thing to do is. Obviously, at the moment, it looks like Mark's got a bit of the edge on us. He managed to go that extra lap at the start, which we thought would be very challenging. So he's done a really good job so far. But Ben's got some good pace there in P2. He's going to use a little bit of fuel up, but then you've got Johan and Pete behind, who I think are probably our main contenders here. So let's see what we can do when we come to the final stop. Loozenor's out the front there, but he's not fuel saving, and I think he'll struggle to make it to the end on medium tyres. So maybe we've got some stuff to play with.
And of course, that final stop is probably going to be the most crucial because it's going to get you guys to the end of this race. Has there been any sort of considerations for maybe an alternate plan, or have you guys just stuck to status quo no matter what's happened on track, even regardless of the incident between Fuller and Lemonnick? Have you guys kind of changed things, or has it just been the same overall for you guys, same mindset?
I think from the beginning of this season, we've just been trying to get all four cars as high up the grid as we can, and we continue to do so. So we're just trying to do the best race we can all the time. I think it's a little bit disappointing that nobody went for that medium option for quali. I think that would have made the race really quite well, even more difficult to call. But yeah, I would say this is probably the status quo at the moment, and yeah, the last stop will probably throw it wide open again. So let's see.
Well, George, we want to thank you for taking the time out of your portion here to the Apex Racing team to try to get a win here from Road America to talk with us up in the booth. We want to wish you congratulations on what the team so far done. We wish you the best of luck on the rest of this race and the rest of the campaign.
Thank you.
Well, at this point in time, you'd say that it's going to be a lot of work to get done, as there's a little bit of focus just behind the driver on screen, Johan Half. Peter Berryman was looking for a moment like he wanted to attack Valentin Mandanart and try and move up a position at this point in time. There's some great racing up and down the order. It's not just the fight. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. You can see it down on the timing tower. Everywhere you look, there are battle trains forming up all around this place, Peter. And that's what you love about this style of racing here, is that you get groups, and groups will fight for place.
You're right, you really are spoiled at Road America because, like you say, you've got close pack racing as well, so it usually always comes down to the last lap and often the last corner and a drag race to the line. But also for the driver themselves, if you ride on board with some of the drivers, the sheer speed of Road America is just fantastic. And in this Dallara IR01 machine, you know, 600 kilograms in weight, 900 horsepower, big aerodynamic grip as well. It is a real thrill ride, and yeah, the drivers have got everything to think about here.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is definitely a lot of focus. And there is James J. Pinsker. Now, for those who want to know how you get your results on iRacing, there is a certain screen that gives you that. James Pinsker here has put his entire palmarès on his car, so everybody knows, Kenneth, how good he is.
Yes, of course. And when he posted this on Twitter about 2 hours ago before we started this race, he said, "Want to learn more about my iRacing career? No, of course not, but I'm out of ideas." So he came up with putting all of his iRacing stats on his Dallara IR01. It's been a treat to watch the different paint schemes that he pulls up with every week. So I guess if people maybe want to recruit him for teams or maybe want to look out for him as a driver, they can just look at his car. They found out all his stats.
I mean, he's on course for 3 championship points if he finishes where he is. He's currently 13th position, all on his own. As we go back to the leading group, or the second, third, fourth place group at this stage in time. Ben Fuller in control of that gap, that stasis here at around 3.3 seconds out there on the road at this point in time. Half second in the train, Mandanart third in the train. And now it's all about focus. This group knows that they are coming up soon towards that final stage. Really, Peter, you'd say at this point in time, nobody wants to make a move unless they want track position going into pit lane. And the thing we haven't talked about with pit lane is that there's a little bump as you make that crest, that rise up. And you can only ask one Mr. Jake Sturgis back in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series how difficult entry to pit lane is.
There's a story behind that, isn't there? Oh dear. Well, whatever the drivers have up their sleeves right now, they've now got the option to come into the pit lane and make it home to the flag. So if they want to put on hard tyres and go for the full-length stint, they can. But if they want to go for the medium tyres, they've still got to stretch it probably another 4 laps, maybe 5 if they can.
They certainly can. Battle on screen is 9th, 10th and 11th. We go on board with Jarl Tyan, who is there in 10th place. You've got Florian Lebigra there, and you can see ever the calm and collected, thinking about it. Do I want to go for a move? Nah, I'll let you go through turn number 1. No chance I'm going to make that pass there. But this is the dynamic that you've got. You've got Florian Lebigra just in front. You've got Andreas Henkel there just behind, as Nunez comes in then for his final stop of the race. And the focus is now, what do you do? When do you decide it's the right time to make that call? And this is the strategy of just waiting and see what happens as we move on forward here and jump towards turn number 6 under the Corvette bridge, Kenneth.
Yeah, and Jarl Tyan, the driver for MB Racing Esport, had some concerns about catching up with at least the driver right in front of him. Florian Lebigra for RAG Esports had some concerns that they were a lot faster than him and he wasn't going to be able to keep pace, but Jarl has done a nice job to adjust and keep himself in the running, especially for 10th. That's going to matter a lot when pit stops come around, and to get some points around as well. It's going to matter for Jarl at this point, who's just trying to put himself as a piercing staple into the championship.
Yep, certainly has been a staple out there and has done well. We focus back, though, to Johan Harth there in third position. He is second in the championship right now. He's had himself 5 podiums so far this season, Peter, but no victories. And it has been a case of Johan Harth just hasn't had that momentum to get over the line, mainly because Martin van Loosenoord has 4 of the victories that he's been trying to take.
Yeah, Johan Harth is just an ever-present threat, though, and even when he started at the back of the pack, he really was still there in the hunt. So do never write him off, as well as we look at on board with Peter Berryman as well. The ever-calm Peter Berryman always looks like he's just so serene at the wheel of that Dallara IR01. And he's had a quiet evening, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the evening could be quiet. He could have something up his sleeve. Alternatively, he was running about second place early on, and when Van Loosenoord went by, he dropped sort of 3 places very quickly. So I wonder if there's maybe that something happened off camera and he's maybe just suffering a little bit of damage on the car. I'm not sure, but we'll find out very shortly what the truth of those 2 statements is.
I think one of them was a blow-down penalty that cost him the places, because he was up there potentially and then dropped back very, very suddenly behind the likes of Mandarnak and Johan Harth. So he's definitely got the pace. He's just being patient right now. He's got to be careful behind, because Ugolotti closed right up behind. Didn't want to make the move, though, so they stay as is for the moment. But keep an eye, Kenneth, on that gap. They've brought the gap from 4 seconds down to 3 seconds.
And indeed, because they have the draft, it's helped them catch up to Martin van Loosenoord. And one thing to note about van Loosenoord is the fact that he extended the stop to 15 laps in the first stint, but he's got no draft to save fuel for the second one, as everybody's going to come down pit road. That is Fuller, that is Harth, that is Peter Berryman, and David Toth for wannabe SRT Racing. He's going to head down pit road as well. So a nice group here, but only on about lap 12 of their stint.
Yeah, Ugolotti sets the fastest lap of the race as they go through again. Now, David Toth was the interesting one, Peter, coming into the pits. I was worried that he'd actually blown it on the line. He was full lock trying to get that car slowed up for the transit speed.
Well, that is where you've got to be very careful of. If you step over that, we saw, it was Michele Costantini, wasn't it? He got done for pit lane speeding early on in the season. So it is very, very easy to do. And if you get served with a drive-through penalty in a race of this length, you're in big, big trouble. We don't have any full-course yellow intervention or anything like that as well. Yeah. Do you think Valentin Mandarnak in this 46 car is trying? It looks like it.
He certainly is. It's worth noting that David Toth has come out and he's ahead of both Johan Harth and Peter Berryman. Berryman's stop was slow. He's lost contact with the group.
And that might be because of the damage fixing, guys. You mentioned it, Jake, the fact that Fuller could have had some wing damage. It may have cost him a little bit based on position. So with Fuller having a longer stop trying to repair that front wing, losing positions in that case, and especially with Johan Harth and Peter Berryman, they're also on the back foot. They're just going to try and catch up to David Toth in this case. But this separation is going to be key here, especially with the fact that Martin van Loosenoord is staying out again for lap 12 on a stint, while Mandarnak and Ugolotti come down. So I'm surprised that he's been able to save this much.
I don't think it's the fact that he's saving that much. I think he's very much well within the range of what he's done. He's still using the fact that he had a 1-lap advantage on that first stint to give himself a 1-lap advantage on that second stint. Van Loosenoord's style of driving, Peter, has been so incredible. It has been just incredible to see how he has been able to not only stay quick, but keep the fuel in check as well.
Yeah, he's got a really big momentum at the moment, doesn't he, Van Loosenoord? Everything is just falling towards him, and that R8G and Predator outfit have just played the strategy perfectly, and they've worked as a team very, very well. Early on in the season, Martin van Loosenoord was effectively fighting on his own against all of the SDK and Apex cars. Now he's got some allies up there. It's David Toth. He's got the yellow wall tyre on. That is the medium tyre. Valentin Mandarnak just ahead on our screen right now. He has the hard tyre on with the white wall. So it's going to, the pace of Toth could be really hot in the next few laps. Now, coming back to Apex and SDK, Ben Fuller has put on the medium tyre. His teammate, who came in at exactly the same point, Peter Berryman, has put on the hard tyre. So curious split of strategy as our race leader comes in. I would expect him to put the mediums on.
Yep, so this is an interesting point of the race now. We're on lap 28 going to lap 29. So we've got about 8 laps to go. This is the range where the medium could work. But David Toth, he's been going 2 laps longer, so he'll be 10 laps on that set of mediums, and he'll be a little bit concerned as this race starts to hot up. So they've got that in the back of the mind. Van Loosenoord still transiting towards his box. He'll have the 4th to last box he'll go through. The good news is he's got a marker. That marker is his teammate. There is Ben Fuller making that charge up the hill as we have a look at things right now. He's also got the yellow walled medium compound tyres on. So off and away goes one Mr. Martin Van Loosenoord. He's going to be back out ahead, and that's almost identical the gap that he had from stint 1 to stint 2. Ben Fuller's got work to do. Van Loosenoord, though, Kenneth, he's got the tyre life advantage.
Exactly, he does. And to compare him with David Toth in this case, obviously you mentioned 10 laps on that medium tire compound. It's going to be a lot harder for him to keep pace by the time the final laps of this race arise. But for Van Loosenoord, he's hit the marker there as Ugo Lodi goes send mode into turn 5, and he's going to make the pass complete. Almost a 2-for-1 there with Mondenok up ahead. With a risky pass, it made worth there for Ugo Lodi in that 98 machine. But to touch on Van Loosenoord, he's got the sweet spot on these medium tires because now he goes about 8.5, 9 laps on that stint. He doesn't really have to worry as much as long as he can keep this pace and keep the gap to the guys behind.
I thought for certain Ugo Lodi was in the back of David Toth there. I thought for certain. That is the margins here. This track is narrow, and this is what difficulties in moves happen. 3 wide around a track like Watkins Glen, for example, you say, oh, it's run-of-the-mill. Here, not so much. Ugo Lodi again looking aggressive. Now he wants Mandenark's position here, and to move up into 3rd. They're giving up the race here to Ben Fuller in 2nd position. All the while, Johan Harth and Peter Berryman, this is pretty much the biggest disaster they did not want to be dealing with here in the final stages of this race right now as we get ourselves a little look through. We do, though, have a bit of a conversation. I believe one of us is going to have a little chat here with Przemysław Lemonek, whose race did not go to plan.
Indeed, for Przemysław Lemonek, obviously things did not go to plan in turn 5. Walk us through just how that went for you, because it looked like you were in the midst of that battle between Fuller, Harth, and all the Apex and SDK guys. So from your perspective, how did that go?
Well, that went into the wall, clearly. And to be honest, I expected that. That's how they do in the draft. Ben Fuller is known for hitting people from behind a lot of times, so it was not a surprise after all. Valentin told me to let him go because he's driving like crazy every time. So I didn't listen to it, so I paid my price. I went into the wall. You know, they might get frustrated that they are incapable of winning races against Martin, so they try to go the hard way. But yeah, it is what it is.
Well, Przemysław, no, it wasn't the best night for you here from the Road America circuit, but we wish you the best of luck moving forward, and unfortunate is how your night went.
Well, yeah, all the championship was not luck, but thanks. Yeah, see you.
Well, that's a very, very brutally honest eye view in there from Przemysław Lemonek there in terms of what was going on. But the battle still rages here for the final spots on the podium. Mandenark holding off Ugo Lodi, Toth, Harth, and Berryman as they are 6th and 7th. But it's going to be a case where he's just frustrated. He's a driver who has just got himself into a position where, not for the first time, Ben Fuller sets fastest lap of the race. Not for the first time this season, he's been in a position where he can race for a podium, Peter, and race potentially for a victory, and the race has gone away from him. It's a season where you feel for Przemysław, this is happening again and again, and the frustration does get to you.
These guys are competing at the very top level of the sport, and that is what happens. You know, you've got 2 outfits that have been the standout teams, the RHG and Predator outfit and the SDK and Apex. They've both been at the top of their game, and Martin Van Loosenoord is just on a real purple patch of form right now. Przemysław is entitled to his opinion, and good for him for volunteering it, actually, to be honest. It's refreshing to see that. And this is what happens when you're in the heat of the battle. Coming back to the race with 7 laps to go, Ben Fuller has an opportunity here. He's had to help the team by stepping back. We saw that at Silverstone, as you mentioned earlier on, which was frustrating for him. Now, he's got the opportunity to help the team by going out and winning and showing what he's capable of doing. He's 2.2 seconds behind Martin Van Loosenoord right now. He's pushing as hard as he can. They're both well into the 130s right now, so they're really going quick at the front at the moment. But for Harth and Berryman, this is not what they needed, having a couple of people between them and Van Lozenoord. Could be a huge swing of points. The only person who can stop that is Ben Fuller getting in front of Van Lozenoord in these last 6 laps. Game on.
6th and 7th position give you 10 and 9 points. You don't want to be giving up 15 and 16 points to a driver who's got 3 straight victories. And as long as he keeps the pace up, looking for a 4th on the spin. The battle for 3rd, we focus on 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. You feel at this stage, and it's important to note that you can't discredit the drives here of Mandarnak, Ugolotti and Toth. They deserve to be where they are right now. But if you're the cars in 6th and 7th, Kenneth, you've got to start working against the train, one at a time, all the way up from now to the end, because you've got 5.5 laps now to try and get this done.
Yeah, the time is indeed running out, Jake, for the Apex Racing guys, for Johan Harth, Peter Berryman. They have to start working, but got to give credit to these 3 right here, Mandarnak, Ugolotti, and Toth. They've been kind of hanging back in that main group for a while, especially after that first stint, and they played this second stop right to put themselves in this position to gain a lot of these points. So, I mean, they're just trying to run for the best position they can possibly get and for race wins, and with these strategy calls, it's putting them in very solid spots. But for Harth and Berryman, they just want him to disappear. They don't want to deal with them right now. They just want to come up to Fuller, maybe help him catch up to Van Lozenoord. But again, 6 now coming to 5 laps to go. They don't have much time to make this plan into fruition.
Yeah, they don't have long at all, and I know that this race is going to be all about these drivers. The gap extends at the front now just a little bit longer to about 2.5 seconds. I think the tyre life starting to show here for Martin Van Lozenoord, who just sets the fastest lap of the race. Here comes the moves. Oh, Harth very nearly into the back of Toth, and he gets himself through. Has he compromised the exit? It's all in the grass, and he may just lose the gap there as Toth very much went for the attack for the inside, and Harth said, no, I'm doing it as well. And the crucial fact is he's trying to get through on the hard compound tyres there, Peter. Wow.
Yeah, I think with that lap time there from Peter Berryman, 130.6 to go quicker than anybody on the hard tyre rather than those who are even on the medium. I actually think Ben Fuller had made a mistake there on that last lap, a 131.2, half a second slower than Van Lozenoord and quite a bit slower than Berryman as well. So I think something had gone wrong on that last lap for Ben Fuller, which could prove critical. But let's keep an eye on these hard tyre runners now in this very late part of the race when the mediums might fall off and the hards. Don't forget, this is when basically these last 5 laps, those tyres on Berryman and Harth's car are going to get better and better and better.
Have a look at this then from Johan Harth's perspective on the front stretch. He was trying to angle it up first and foremost. He saw the check up and went, oh, I'm going for it. I'm absolutely going for it. Goes down the inside, takes the position away, and then with a little bit of grass there on the exit, he very much nearly had himself with all sorts of troubles 2 or 3 times through that corner. Well, you talk about how championships, Kenneth, are won by fine margins. That was about as fine as it can be. And now Harth and Berryman are starting to swap places, not because they want to, but because they need to. The gap is there, and that gap is 1.3 seconds. They are out of range from Ugolotti in 4th.
And Berryman's going to get by on Johan Harth, but that's what makes a driver like Johan Harth so successful in this series, Jake. His aggression, how he's been able to just push the issue and not care about the consequences, just taking the risk and making it work. We saw that happen last week at Hockenheim, where he started 24th at the rear of the field due to a qualifying ban from the previous race at Silverstone, and he worked all the way up to the top 3 positions. So Harth just making this aggression into his advantage, but they got to be really aggressive here with 4 laps to go to catch up.
They absolutely do, and they know that this is a race where those points are going to be even tougher to come by for the final 3 rounds of the championship. They know that next week it's the Red Bull Ring. From then it's Suzuka, and Hungaroring ends the season. So it's going to be very, very similar as they go through, as we got ourselves the battle for 5th, the battle for 3rd, and then your race leader on the bottom right of your screen, Martin Van Lozenoord, who has been absolutely fantastic so far. 3 laps to go. We're still not sure if the podium's going to be sorted, and that actually, give it a lot of credit right now. That group there in 5th and 6th, Harth and Berryman, 1 lap, they are there, Peter.
Yeah, they've got work to do, and they've just got to use that tyre advantage, or hopefully try and create some sort of tyre advantage in the latter part of this race. But the last time around, they were just going a little bit steady, but not this time. 1:30.6 again for Berryman. So he's just popping in these mid 1 minute 30s, which nobody is able to match. And now look, yes, you're right. They're right on top of Ugolotti, Mandernack. Now, Ugolotti is on the medium. He could be in real trouble, but Mandernack is on the hard.
Yep, so Valentin Mandernack here, covering off the strategy call then by the likes of Berryman and Harth, and will be now doing his utmost, you would say at this point in time, to maintain that podium. The good news he's got is that the TQ Engineering car will just as much be wanting that podium as those two behind, as there's a small mistake from Peter Berryman going there out of the hurry downs through turn number 8, and that costs them about half a second on this lap, because Berryman did not have full control of the vehicle, so they've got to spend another half a lap, couple straights, getting themselves back into position once again to allow themselves an opportunity to attack, Kenneth. This is not going right for Apex.
Yeah, it definitely isn't, and especially with the pace that they've kept up, it hasn't been as dramatic. Yes, they have caught up just a little bit to the likes of Ugolotti and Mandernack, but it has not been as much as they probably want to with 3 laps to go. Remember, they have to make up now seconds of time instead of just 10, so they have to really do a lot. It's just at this point, they just got to keep their pace and hopefully just run these laps all the way to the end and maybe get 5th and 6th out of this, along with Ben Fuller for SDK and P2. They just got to get what they can get, but at this point, it's looking unlikely unless they really make something drastic.
Feel like Ugolotti's got to make a move now. They've got themselves back to where they need to. The draft is so strong as they make those runs forward. Is there enough for Peter Berryman to jump up forward? Ugolotti trying to match. He's not there. Door left open down the inside of 1A. Going to try and take 2. Nope, not going to quite get there. So Berryman gets past the train, moves up into 4th position. He will move up to 2nd in the championship now, Peter, if Mr. Berryman can stay like this.
Very important move there from Peter Berryman, and pulled it off beautifully. Very nice indeed. Now, Valentin Mandernack, this could be a different story though as well. Of course, Ugolotti's on the medium, so he's maybe on the latter part of those tyres' lives, whereas they're kind of even Stevens are. Berryman in 4th place and Mandernack just ahead in 3rd. This could be a critical point in the championship. Speaking of, Van Lozenord at the moment about to go on to the last lap to put 4 wins on the bounce, something I honestly didn't think we would see anybody do in this 10-round season, but Martin Van Lozenord right on the cusp of doing it. And guys, what an execution it's been again, just sticking to a strategy, nailing it on point, and winning this race at the front. It's so impressive to watch.
Knock wood. You still got yourself a bit to go. Here comes the move, though. To the inside goes Peter Berryman, looking for that position. Now they're starting to trade behind as well. Into 1. Mandernack understeers, goes wide into the gravel, and goodbye any hope of a podium. He now drops back into 6th place. It goes just as quickly as that. And now Ugolotti will be trying to hold on here, or maybe even save himself enough and attack this one. Go for 3rd position here on the final lap of the race. He's thinking of the inside, almost contact as they go through. But Kenneth, quickly, let's have a look at what happened.
You see what happened there. Berryman tried to go to the inside. You saw Ugolotti almost make it 3, but just trying to push 2 cars in that narrow corner is just hard enough. And what a save it was for Mandernack to keep that straight, keep it collected, and not get any damage. Only problem is he's just going to have no track position. P6 is what he can probably get now.
Certainly can be, and now you're starting to see it, just how strong of a run it has been to get back into position from the likes of Berryman and the likes of Johan Harth. Harth still hasn't got it done yet, but this has been an incredible race for a number of reasons. Strategizing has been the key. This guy is pure money. Car 69, Martin Van Lozenord, MVL has been unstoppable over the last month. They call him absolutely fantastic. This has been the Fantastic Four. Martin Van Lozenord comes to the line, 4 straight, 5th this season, and gets exactly what he wants. Team orders for 2nd as Fuller gives it up for Peter Berryman.
Wow, Ben Fuller again playing the team game, but I think the right thing to do for Apex and SDK. Berryman, of course, in that very close championship fight And yeah, you got to take your hat off there to Ben Fuller for allowing Berryman to go by. Didn't have the time to let Johannes pass, unfortunately, but Peter Berryman really made the difference on that last stint. As Van Loozenhoorn was cruising for the win, Berryman had to really fight. Don't forget, he was in 6th with just a handful of laps to go and put in so many 1 minute 30-second laps on that last stint. Really impressive stuff from Peter Berryman.
Yeah, we're having a look here at the O2. This is Florian Lebigra here, who was in a race here with one Mr. Jarl Tyen, making his way through the right. Oh, he saves it coming out the final corner. It will cost him a place, but I tell you what, you don't go sideways like that. And then Jarl Tyen says, no, you deserve that. Have the place. They've been working with each other, actually, all race long. I've heard a little bits over the radio in communication from Jarl Tyen saying, Florian, you're quicker than me, just go ahead. And Jarl Tyen ultimately saying, no, you deserve that one. You can have it. So an interesting day's worth of racing then. There's your result. Martin Van Loozenhoorn's 4th straight victory, winning by 3.2 over Peter Berryman. Ben Fuller, you could argue, deserved that 2nd place, but team orders in the end between Apex and SDK brings him back into 3rd with Hart 4th and Valentin Mandanark on the last lap going from 3rd position back to 6th and into 5th as Matteo Ugolotti could not hold on late. David Toth would take 7th. Tamas Simon there in 8th, with Florian Lebigra in 9th, despite the slide being gifted that 10th place by the Norwegian Jarl Tyen. The likes there of James J. Pinsk had a quiet race in 13th, and the likes of Peter Zuber will take the final championship point there. Omar Bahar, Martinez, and then you start to hit the retirements there. The likes of Michele Costantini will now be very much in a team supporting role from now to the end of the season. Kenneth, I believe you found yourself, though, with our overall race winner.
Indeed, I have. Back again with Martin Van Loozenhoorn, 4-time winner in a row, 5-time winner over the course of the campaign. Martin, is there a way to describe how this has felt going not only 5 wins on the campaign, which is a lot for a driver, but 4 in a row?
Feels amazing, man. Feels great. I need to let it sink in, obviously, but yeah, it feels great. We've done the hard work, and I tried to play it smart, and it worked out.
And of course, it did. And going into this race, championship leader had a 7-point spread back to, I believe, Peter Berryman, who was back in 2nd, or I believe Johan Hart, either one of the two. But nonetheless, it was a tight gap between you guys. How does it feel now to kind of extend that? I know you haven't said a lot about the overall championship, but I think at this point, there's a lot of points that have been accrued over these wins. So how has that been overall to extend this points lead after tonight?
Yeah, well, I think to Pete, it's only 3 points gain as he has the fastest lap. Need to be sure of that, of course, but I think that's only a 3-point gain, so it's not a lot. Still need to keep the focus and need to look at the big picture. So I'm just focusing week after week, and yeah, there's nothing more I could do, man. It's really hard work and difficult to keep this beast on the track. But yeah, as for now, it's all working out pretty good.
I don't think it's working out pretty good. I think that's an understatement considering it's 4 wins in a row. Nonetheless, Martin, moving forward now, the 4 straight wins, going to try to keep this streak alive. What's in it for you and the rest of the team as you guys head over to next week?
What's the track next week?
I believe Red Bull Ring is the track
Red Bull Ring
next week.
Red Bull Ring is a great track to drive on with this car. Very fast lap times, fast corners, and yeah, that's what this car is made for, you know, for that type of circuits. So I think I would feel pretty comfortable on the Red Bull Ring. Just need to keep working on the setup, keep improving ourselves, and yeah, just position the car in quali, you know, somewhere up front, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Nonetheless, Martin, it's a fantastic effort for the 4th win in a row, the first time since Martin Krunke did it back in 2017. Martin, congratulations on the win here tonight from Road America. Wishing you the best of luck moving forward to the next race.
Thank you, mate.
On forward, we move to 2nd place finisher Peter Berryman for the Apex Racing team. Peter, I know it was a very different approach this time. You guys were in the midst of a fight. Ugolotti with Valentin Mandanark. You were in your own sort of placement with your teammate, Johan Hart. Walk us through kind of those last final laps through your perspective behind the wheel.
Yeah, the whole race really from lap 1 for me was a disaster, to put it straight. So yeah, coming to the line there, I fully accepted P3, and I'm not really sure what happened with Ben, so I don't know if it's fuel or what the deal is there, but I guess we'll need to look into that afterwards. But yeah, what a mess that race really was for us. As soon as Martin got to the front, it was pretty much just deploying the other cars in their team to, to try and hold us and give them a gap, which is exactly the same type of thing we would do. So it's just a struggle. The slipstream in this car is so insane, to the point where I almost feel like it ruins the racing. And at the minute, yeah, the RHE guys are just getting on top of it better than us, plain and simple. Yeah, congrats to Martin. Again, another great drive. And it's really just up to us to try and close that down. And at the minute, we're not really doing the best job of that.
And of course, still a points gap that you guys can overbreach for Martin Van Loosenoord up at the top of the championship. For a team here, with the way you guys have been working so solidly over this campaign, how is it going to be on the approach for the final 3 races? Is there going to be anything different in the team talk after today, or are you guys going to stick to status quo and just try to keep these blueprints ready for the next couple events?
Yeah, nothing different. I think our approach has been the same since the start. I don't really think there's too much we can do. These races are really just a complete lottery. So, yeah, same approach, and just hope we can get the better of it on the day.
Well, Peter, nonetheless, want to give you congratulations on the 2nd place finish here today from Road America, and wishing you the best of luck as you move forward to Austria in the Red Bull Ring next week.
Thanks, man.
That's Peter Berryman, who comes home in P2. We'll talk to the other driver for SDK Gaming, that Apex Alliance, Ben Fuller in the 55. Ben, I think out of many in that strategy, you were one of the only ones on the medium sidewall tire compound. So with that decision for you, how important did that make your run up to the front possible to that last stint, and how were you able to do it?
Yeah, we had to try something. I was at the front of the pack. I felt like I had pretty decent pace, and we needed to gamble, so we went for the mediums. It was rough at the end. Tires were completely shot, but I did the best I could. I thought I put in some good laps, and then tires just turned off at some points. So it was tough, but did our best. It's just racing in the pack is a complete joke. I mean, it might look good on TV, but it's in complete shambles to race. I mean, the net code and the speed and the width of the car is just terrible to race. So fair play to Martin. He did a great job today, as always. You just got to learn how to do better, I suppose.
And adjustment, I think, for you guys, probably going to be on the minds after today for Road America. And adjustment for you happened in the middle of the race. You had contact with Przemysław Lemonek coming into turn 5, trying to make a pass for position. With that damage, did that affect you any heavily, or were you just able to kind of square it off easily and move forward? I mean, P3 at the end of the day, still rather well considering you had that damage.
No, it was a netcode incident. I mean, I had no damage, nothing on my end. It was just completely on his end, which is unfortunate for him. But this is racing in the pack. When you make aggressive moves like that, these things happen. So very sorry for him. But, I mean, it can happen to anybody at any time at this point. So just kind of how it goes, I guess. This is racing with the IRA one.
Nonetheless, Ben, congratulations on the 3rd place finish here today from Road America. Want to wish you guys the best of luck when you guys move forward to Red Bull Ring next week.
Yeah, thank you. A big shout out to SDK Gaming, as always, Groove Media, Apex Racing Academy. All these guys are incredible people. So we're pushing every week. We're trying to get better, but yeah, we'll do better next time.
That's your overall top 3, Jake, out of Road America. Van Loosenoord, your winner. Berryman and Fuller, 2nd and 3rd.
Let's talk points then, shall we? Because this has got very, very interesting right now. 140 for Martin Van Loosenoord, 129 for Peter Berryman. The gap is 11 points only. Johan Haas 17 back, and Ben Fuller 40 points adrift now in 4th position outright on 100 points. So it's very much a case of still Martin versus Peter versus Johan, but now Peter Berryman, I think, is starting to cement himself, Peter, as this sort of driver, as I am the main challenger to Martin's reign at the moment at the top.
Well, I think he proved that in the last stint, particularly of that race. The last portion of it, he was the only guy to put in the sheer number of 1 minute 30-second laps, and indeed 1 minute, mid 1 minute 30-second laps, which was extraordinary. Hauled himself up many places in that last few laps, and that kept him in that close championship hunt. And as you rightly say, identifying himself as the main challenger towards Martin Van Loosenoord. But what a challenge they've got to mount to stop the Dutchman.
Exactly. Just 3 races remain now, and next time out is going to be interesting. The Red Bull Ring is going to feel so very similar to the challenge of Road America. It's very fast. You've got, of course, those very high-speed attacking zones, but the key difference really, Kenneth, is that you've got the braking zone November 4th, just 1 week from today.
Yeah, and that's going to only continue the amplified nature of this championship. Red Bull Ring, it's such a classic F1 circuit, such a great F1 circuit. It's provided a lot of great Grand Prix in the real-life Formula 1 series. So with these Dallara IRL1s, going to expect nothing less than excitement and a lot of fun with the best in the field.
Absolutely, we are, and you can do so here with us at iRacing. Thank you so very much for jumping along with us for the ride. From Kenneth Bueno, from, of course, Peter Mackay, alongside with me. My name has been Jake Sperry. Doesn't it just feel that the stakes have just been raised after tonight? Everyone just feels like they have just a little bit more of themselves in these battles for the overall championship. You know, we talk about this being sim racing, but this feels very, very real right now as we go towards where we need to 1 week from today. Thank you for joining us here, but it is money. Martin van Lozenoord, 4 in a row. How do you stop a machine that does not keep on stopping? We'll see you next time out at the Red Bull Ring. Bye for now.